Hello. Originally, this video was supposed to be about this server, as I had announced it in the previous video, except that in order to show how I did the server, built it and whatnot, I first wanted to modernize my setup, as you can see just here, so that I can have some kind of recording apparatus on the atelier, different angles, show you what's up and whatnot. Anything that could go wrong during the setup of that atelier went wrong step by step. It got to the point where I was genuinely just awaiting the next fail. I found it quite entertaining. I just plowed through with sheer stubbornness, and I figured it would make for some quite fun content. So, let me show you where I started from, what were all of the different ideas, what did I want to do, and then what went wrong in the process. So this is what the atelier looks like, and the idea is that I wanted all of these different webcams, so while I'm working on the atelier, you can have a glimpse as to what is going on. So the general idea is that I wanted a few different webcams pointing at different places on the atelier, so that when I'd work on the computers, I'd be able to show you what I'm drilling, why I'm drilling, how I'm assembling, and whatnot. So that was the general idea. Now, let me show you by what I started and how I got to here. So at first, all I had was this Logitech Brio webcam. That's a 4K webcam that goes from USB-C to USB-A. And it's got a very decent image, and what I wanted to do is use it pointing downwards and linked to my laptop to record what I was doing. So the laptop right now is just used as a prop to show you where it was originally, and this is what I used. 4K. No matter how much time I spend in the Windows settings, that camera self-identified as 2K, not 4K. Due to the problems, I ended up using a USB-C to USB-C cable to connect to the computer. Webcam was still identifying as a 2K webcam. So maybe there was something wrong with that cable too. Because that didn't work, I then attempted to use another USB-C to USB-C cable. So at this point I'd started looking into USB 3 and USB-C communication protocols just to understand what the heck was going on. Because people online were saying, check your cables, make sure they are up to standard, up to spec and whatnot. Turns out, the moment you plug in two USB 3, USB-C devices, they will check who are you, do you need power, is this just to send power from one end to the other, and in the case of a webcam, what's the bandwidth? What bandwidth can I use? So as a Hail Mary, I decided, why not use a dock? I mean, I'm not losing anything trying it. I then used a very simple dock. So it's got a USB-C input. It's also got a USB-A 3.0 input and a USB-C output. And that worked for whatever reason. At the same time, while all of that drama with the Logitech Brio is going on, I'm realizing that having the camera pop out, point the drill, then be popped right back into place, change places or whatever. Like I couldn't find a good system, so I figured the easiest way was to get myself more of those webcams, which to be fair are quite decent. No longer for sale, only business accounts. And one's like, okay, if I can't find it on Amazon, I may as well go on Logitech itself. You'd swear I was looking for the Holy Grail or something. It was more than twice the price. So at that stage, I was like, okay, I'm just going to get some cheaper webcams that say they're 4K and hope for the best. Ended up getting myself these eMeet cameras that seem to be working on 4K USB-A not the most recent one, no problem. Still don't know how, still don't know why, but they work. Because setting up the cameras, changing scenes from one webcam to another started to become really tedious, I decided to use the stream deck that I normally use for streaming to be able to record, stop recording, and change scenes at the press of a button. Computer's off right now, but that was the general idea. So I have my stream deck, I've got my cameras, I've got OBS that's ready to go. I'm ready to go, I want to go, so I'm like, oh good. I press the record button. A slideshow. The whole recording turned into a slideshow. Like, okay, no biggie. Close everything on the computer, make sure everything is good. Try again. Slideshow. Okay, this is getting frustrating. So, reboot the computer, make sure the only thing open is OBS, put an extra cooling pad under the computer, start recording again. Slideshow. At this point I'm getting really annoyed, but I figured, hey, if the CPU is maxed out, I can use the integrated GPU, right? So with the new settings in place, I could see that the CPU was no longer hitting 100%, and thus I was able to feel confident enough to give recording another try. So I could start using the drill, I could start working on the atelier, and confident enough to put in a solid 40 minutes or so of recording. 40 minutes. That's how long I worked before the next slideshow. Except that this time, no matter what I closed, it would wait 30 minutes-ish before turning into a slideshow. I would then close OBS and the whole computer would still be a slideshow. 1 or 2 FPSs, like absolutely horrendous to use. So I'm kind of confident in saying that this time I had found a bug with the integrated graphics card of the laptop. So I was like, okay, I'm done with that. Let's swap to one of my spare computers. Because I was getting absolutely nowhere with my laptop, I figured why not use one of the many computers that I have at my disposal. Turned out I did have one that's quite powerful. So it wasn't this one, I'll show you why later, but it was this one. So I had to do a computer swap. So it's low profile, and I realized that if I truncated the GPU, I could in fact have it fit right in that little gap. Completely out of sight, super nice and clean. The truncating was extremely easy. So this is a GT 710, that's a GT 730, just for the purpose of showing it. So if I show the side, you'll see that the VGA connector is hardened by a ribbon and by the screws of the DVI connector. So if you very simply unscrew it carefully, obviously, and unplug the VGA ribbon connector, you end up with a very low profile 710 GT graphics card. And that, along with the low profile CPU fan, allowed it to fit absolutely no problem all the way in. I'll add that the gap is not super wide, but the cables would be going through the back, where you have a hole in the atelier that allows the cables to go through. I have a whole lot of these connectors. They are front panel connectors for computers, and although I did have to find the name of the motherboard to know what pins would connect where, this in turn allows me to turn on and off the computer with relative ease. So in this computer, it was kinda in the front just here. I take it, press it on, computer would turn on. The solution would have been elegant had I plugged it in correctly the first time. So I had to pull everything out because obviously, well, I pushed everything in, it was all nice and beautiful, everything set the way I wanted it to. Press the button, doesn't turn on. So take the computer out, I have it dangling just here, held on by all of the cables of the PSU and whatnot. Reconnect all of the pins. This time I tested and I do see that it connects at last, it turns on. So I plug in the computer screen and I immediately realize I've got a big problem at hand. Like, don't even need to try and connect the computer or whatnot. I'm going to need to use the second screen, which is right behind, in order to use it. At the same time I received all of those computers from work, they were also getting rid of computer screens, so it was the same thing. You either take them or they're going in the bin, simple as that. So this was the second screen I took at the same time as the computers, and all good. I had a spare plan. Let's go, let's install it. So no problem, I've got a second screen that I can use. I saved one just in case, precisely for that purpose. It's got a few scratches, no problem. So the problem I had was that it just couldn't fit under the shelf because it was too big. So I had to disassemble the foot to make it nice and flush so that it could fit under the shelf, and at long last I could at last have the computer screen. I still haven't installed Windows at this stage. Now that I've disassembled it, now that I can start to squeeze it in, I realize I've got just a little bitty problem. Here are all of the buttons that allow me to turn the screen on and off. By squeezing it inside, they'd be all pressing on the wood, the atelier, which is the support, so rendering the screen completely useless. So when plan A and then plan B fail, you can always try to use a plan C if you have one at hand. Turns out in my case I just didn't want to use it. So this is a portable screen. So not a laptop, just a screen. And you'd put it in your bag with your laptop to have a second screen at hand during your travels or whatnot. And yeah, straightforward, simple, nice to use. So the new screen fits in really elegantly, it works. I've got my keyboard, I've got my mouse, I am ready to go. I didn't have any devices to install Windows on that computer, so had to create one, and gosh, it put up a fight before allowing me to do so. It was just super long, but eventually I had my Windows key and I was ready for the installation. At last, I've got my Windows disk USB key. I can now plug it in, install it, and let the installation run. So the Windows installation takes a huge amount of time. That was not a surprise. I've installed quite a few. I was expecting it. Got everything up and running. And usually what happens is once you're done installing Windows, you just connect it to the internet and you let it do its thing to install the drivers. Connect it to the internet. Internet outage. There was no more internet for 36 hours. So comes a moment where you wonder, like, is this what's going on? So I had to wait 36 hours. At this point, I was not even interested in sharing the connection with my phone because it didn't have the Wi-Fi card. I would have had to take a USB dongle, plug it in, take a DVD driver, plug that into to install the... I just decided, I'll wait this out. I'll just wait this out. So computer's up and running at long last, but as you can see, this is not the computer that I described. I told you I was using this computer. And this is because for streaming purposes, I needed a pass-through card. So I've got this Elgato 4K 60 Pro, and the big problem is that the computer that I wanted to use for this purpose, this is an older computer that I bought, does not have the required PCIe ports. They need to be a bit longer. So I've got like the PCIe for the graphics cards, that's not a problem, but only this computer, which I had originally installed in there, did in fact have the required PCIe port for the Elgato capture card. So for those that don't quite know what it is, the idea is that instead of both streaming and playing from the same computer, which obliterates the specs of whatever game you can play on, this computer only focuses on gaming, just gaming, nothing else. The video goes out from the graphics card into the Elgato card, and then out from the Elgato card through to the screen. And the idea is that computer there is doing the recording, the streaming, anything else but the game, and this computer does just the game. So it doesn't matter if I start losing frames or whatnot, it allows me to stream and record quite nicely. But that computer needed to be used for that purpose. So out everything came, put it on the desk, took the previous one out, and put it there. I suppose you can tell at my face at this point that no, it did not go smoothly either at all. I had problems with the HDMI cables. I had to buy quite a few specifically for this purpose. I had problems with the drivers. I had problems with the software. I had problems with the sound. I had problems with the stream management. Nothing wanted to work. That was all the can of worms that sent me on this long side quest. Anyway, back to the topic. Now, at long last, everything is running quite smoothly. So as you can see through the Elgato streamdeck, screen is a little bit white, but you can see I've got all of the different angles. So here I can use the drill, no problem. I can swap from one camera to another. That would be the top-down one. I also have one a little bit from the side if I want to show something that's a little bit at a weird angle. I've got the record button that is just here, and I can start OBS with that button. And voila, and hopefully, I should be able to assemble an additional computer. So I've got a few spare ones, as you can see, they're just here, to show you how I disassemble them, to put them in here, and then in turn proceed with the next steps of the server. So everything is ready to record. Why hasn't anything been recorded? I was about to, and then I fell sick. 2 weeks of nasty coughing fit, complete voice extinction. I mean, comes a moment when I'm seriously wondering, like, did I offend someone up there? Like, I've got no other explanations as to why things could go so wrong one after another. Anyway, doing better at last. Everything's installed. Everything's up and ready. I can't wait to try and record and find out what the next issue is going to be. I've got no doubt there's going to be more waiting for me. But hey, most of the crap is behind me. Hopefully, the crap ahead of me is going to be easier to deal with, because this was so damn long. Thanks a lot for watching. I just wanted to do this very light-hearted, funny rant thing. And yeah, hope to see you soon with the video where at long last I show you how I did the damn server. Thanks, bye-bye, and see you next time.